she can turn and be nasty very quickly. And that's why Harry is very scared of her.
Breaking right now, the new bullying allegations against Meghan Markle are turning into a major crisis. As you can see there, even former friendly publications like Newsweek now turning on the dictator in high heels. The Daily Beast has also reported that Meghan Markle's survivors feel vindicated by reports of her demon ways. And summing this up, the royal YouTuber, according to Taz, posted the Daily Beast, Vanity Fair, and The Hollywood Reporter have all reported on Meghan not just being a demanding boss, but a truly nasty piece of work. Bullying your staff into quitting their jobs, crying, and ending up in long-term therapy is seriously damning. She sounds evil. And Julie Burchill, a highly respected columnist who Meghan Markle's Sussex squad also tried to cancel with completely false allegations of racism, but we know what they do, we know this is how they play things, wrote, "For the sugary crew who insisted they knew that Meghan is a charmer, now the bully's been stripped bare by Vanity Fair. I've just got one word, karma. Oh, you dumbass dupes, read it and weep." And of course, the Vanity Fair article, 8,000-word article, is going to have serious repercussions for Meghan's already damaged position in Hollywood, certainly so soon after the complete disaster of her LA wildfires PR stunt. Well, Prince Harry's biographer, Angela Levin, a woman who has been vindicated by so many of the revelations in Vanity Fair, joins me now live. So, Angela, I've been desperate to talk to you about this ever since I read the article. Hit me. What do you think?
Well, I think that they want to, I think that Vanity Fair wants to get their own back on what happened in 2017. That's what I think. You know, sometimes people wait until the moon is cold and then they go and attack. And I think that's what it was. Shall I go back there and tell you what happened?
Yeah, because this was the cover, wasn't it, Wild About Harry, that she claimed
Yes.
was in some ways racist. I mean, she throws around racism allegations to everyone, doesn't she, Angela? But yes, tell me.
Yeah, well, in 2017, she'd been with Harry. They were completely in love, as they said at the time, and he wasn't actually proposing. So she decided that he needed a bit of a push because she can't wait for things. And she also thought that it would be good with her playing a play that she did that was playing for the 100th time. So she offered to talk and give them an interview. So they were obviously delighted. And they said that, and everything went very well. But when Harry saw it, he nearly died because women from the royal family do not actually mention that they're going to get married to somebody before anything happens and the Queen knows and Prince William knows. But she went ahead and said, you know, love is love and we're in love. And that was a very big mistake. But the magazine wasn't to know that. And she then decided that it was the magazine's fault because Harry did not like the title. And so she said that it was, the title was, let me see, can't remember it now, but I'll come back to it. And she didn't like the title, and Harry didn't like the title, and he wanted it removed, and she wouldn't do it, and the magazine couldn't do it. So things got quite difficult, and Meghan doesn't like to be in the wrong. So she then decided that it was boring, it was too much about Harry when it should have been about her. And the worst thing of all, the big word which she uses quite a lot, and has done since then, that it was racist. And the reason it was for racist was that there was a title that was to do with 1930 magazine where there was a lot of blacks around, and she didn't like it. So that was the end of them.
Yeah,
She
she
was
thought it was similar
furious.
to a song that had been performed by Judy Garland
Yes,
in blackface.
yes.
But
I'm just worried about Harry. That's what it was called.
yeah,
I'm just worried about Harry, and it'd been performed by Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney as a blackface number in the 1930 film, and she was absolutely furious.
but this
Um,
was grasping at straws because it was in Babes in Arms, right? And the thing is that movie, Angela, was released in 1939. I mean, come on.
yeah,
Vanity Fair weren't thinking, oh, let's try and link it to a film from 1939. They were just, I mean, look, we're journalists. We know how this works, right? We know how headline writers work. They thought it was a clever pun. That's it. No
yeah.
racism intended.
No, but Harry knew he was going to get into terrible trouble to have a title like that when the Queen and his
Yes.
brother didn't even know anything about it. So she
Yes.
blamed them and she blamed them. And that's it. And that really was the beginning of a very nasty Meghan, and it's gone on from there. So I think they've waited a long time. They've apparently done masses of investigation, and they came up with a whole list of things that she's got wrong, and it's really, really sharp. It's really sharp, and I've picked a few that I can just read to you and see what you think of it. The first one is easy. It's that staff needed therapy after working with Meghan. Now, this was mentioned when she was still within the palace, and that people believed that the staff were so scared of her and she was so nasty to them that they had therapy or they left. And she absolutely said nonsense. But you look at that face and you can see it's not nonsense there. And this is a magazine that it didn't happen. It happened a long time ago, but they've now got the chance to say that she was a bully. And although she denied it, she was. So that's it. That's firmly done now. And there were all sorts of things originally about this, about taking them to court and all that. But you see, really, she can turn and be nasty very quickly. And that's why Harry is very scared of her. Then the other one, next one is really business-wise, that Meghan didn't come up with ideas for archetypes. And they said that she didn't really help. And it took them, because she didn't, it took them a lot more time to find out what to do, because she didn't like what they were doing. So she was very difficult to work with. We know that well. So it's not a lie. It's just the truth. And then she said that I don't believe she didn't know how to curtsy for the Queen. That's the question there. And of course she did. Most little girls go around being queens and curtsying. I mean, there was a picture of her when she was very small, about, I don't know, 5, 6, and she had a crown on and she was pretending to be a queen. Don't tell me that she didn't get people curtsying to her and that she was curtsying. And that's just what it was. She was pretended to be very shocked when Fergie said, "Oh, you're going to see the Queen for the first time. You do know that you have to curtsy." And she said, "What? That's ridiculous." And so Fergie went through it with her as quickly as she could, but she was furious about it. And Meghan tried to get her own back when she did this terrible, terrible curtsy, and sort of bent over, right over, and said, and then put on a very silly voice. And I thought that that was disgusting. And then Harry was challenged to engage with, and the reason why they say this, it's not necessarily cruel, but it's very interesting. This one, that he doesn't really want to work. He wants to do charity work. He doesn't mind if he doesn't get money. He can leave Meghan to get all the money, but he just wants to really work with people and not worry about getting funds. He just wants to help people. So that's quite sweet on one level, but absolutely not on another, because you have to um, have money to live. And actually, he asked his father for a load of money, which he had, and he's got no idea really how to handle money. He should have gone to a course or something. So all these things are not very nice. But Harry and Meghan are now pretending they're taking no notice, which is what they always do. But you don't believe that either, because Harry would be boiling underneath, and Meghan is probably screaming and shouting and tearing her whatever she can get, because she hates people to dislike her. The whole thing is that she wants people to believe what an amazing, wonderful woman she is. Hence all these big smiles and the hugs. Hasn't worked, has it?
It hasn't worked at all. It hasn't worked at all. But what do you make of the fact that the American mainstream media are now acknowledging that this is a major crisis for Meghan Markle? Because, look, Angela, we were talking about her bullying behavior. You've been talking about the way that she screams and shouts at people, and you have tallied up the fact that the number of staff members who have actually left her employ is far, far higher than the 19 that is usually quoted. But all of a sudden, she's unable to blame this on the terrible British tabloid press or people like you and me, Angela, who are driven by racism, or however she wants to try and frame us. Of course, that's completely ridiculous. And by the way, a libelous suggestion from her, because this is now her own people. This is Hollywood Reporter. This is the Daily Beast. This is Newsweek. And this is now Vanity Fair. So do you agree that she has to now have a new strategy to try and deal with the bullying allegations, which are really starting to swirl out of control?
Well, it's very difficult, isn't it? I mean, the one thing she's got to do is to somehow get the royal family to like her again, because they're very keen on families in America. And they've all been, well, not all, but so many of them have been shocked by her rudeness about them, her cruelty to them, her lack of gratitude. And I think that that's very important. And I think that's been lying there, people being very worried about who is this woman who pretends that she's always right and that she's never wrong, and that, what an awful time she had. Even if she did, I believe they think, we all have difficulties in our family, but you don't hang out the washing, do you? And the other thing about them is that this was a huge shock, going to the flames in Los Angeles. Um, she's always got to be there in the front and organizing things, and she doesn't care about anyone. And I think people have gradually seen this, and it never changes. She's always complaining. She likes to be likes to people to think that she's a poor young girl and it's so difficult for her, but it's not. And I think people as well don't like the fact that she's always away from her children. We don't know if they are her children. We don't know. We don't see them. We don't know which school they go to. There's no any life for these children. I actually had an email this morning from someone from Canada who said to me, Angela, please help. I'm so worried about the two children. Children have to see other children. They have to see parents and grandparents. So please do something. I mean, I can't do anything, but I found it was rather a sad email to send me. It took much trouble to find out what one it was. And I felt that yes, people now want to step back because there's something very wrong with her, that you can't actually want a family. There's only her mother that she's close to. And you're not doing the right thing. And I think this is the last straw, this fantasy of what she's like. And people will now, they want to know her. They don't want to invite her. They don't want to know her. They don't want to ask her what she thinks of anything, because they don't care. And nor are they interested in her cakes
It's
that
just
may not come out. I
yeah,
don't think they will.
yeah, it's totally toxic now, isn't it?
It is
And
totally toxic.
and I was really
Her own
interested.
fault. It's absolutely her own
Oh, no, it
fault.
is.
Because
I
she
mean, it is. I'm not blaming anyone else. This was a
she's
situation she
assumed we're all
created.
stupid and can't see through anyone.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, I blame Harry as well, but I just wanted to
Yes.
um read and get you to respond to some of this analysis in Newsweek specifically, Angela, because again, what's interesting about this is people who have followed the story know that Jack Royston, who's the royal correspondent for Newsweek, has always been very pro Meghan and Harry. So he's not someone who is out to get them. But he
He was out to
says,
get me.
yeah,
He
I
was
think he
out
was
to
out to
get
get
me.
me too. Exactly. That's the point. He was actually doing their bidding for quite a long time. But I find that fascinating, Angela, when it's the people who used to be Team Harry and Meghan within the mainstream media that are now turning. And he writes that Meghan should know a PR comeback similar to the one staged in the pages of Us Weekly will not solve this problem for her. The simple existence of the latest report in Vanity Fair is evidence the strategy failed last time around. Meghan therefore has two plausible options ahead of her, one of which is to try and simply ignore it and hope she still has enough support to make a success of her commercial projects, such as her Netflix cooking show With Love Meghan. The other option, though, is to look for an opportunity to acknowledge the negative experience of the staff who have worked for on both sides of the Atlantic without dismissing them. And it goes on to say the Sussex position has historically been diametrically opposed to the staff who criticise her, with Harry insisting Meghan spread nothing but sweetness and light through the corridors of Kensington Palace. Outside observers have therefore been left to choose between two radically different narratives that Meghan is either an angel or a demon. The former held more water when the allegations were confined to the palace and Harry's family or the British media, all the villains of their own narrative. However, now the scandal has spread out of Britain to US staff and American publications, the pro-Meghan narrative no longer contains a baked-in explanation for the existence of the anti-Meghan perspective. And with each new chapter, it appears increasingly unlikely that the former is the full and only accurate story, meaning it may be time for Meghan to pivot and offer a third option, that she is a flawed but well-meaning person who is capable of changing. Even if she cannot bring herself to issue a full apology or mea culpa, she could look for an opportunity, perhaps in passing during an interview or TV appearance, to reference the fact some people have found her a tough boss, but to say she is actively trying to be better. Now, you talk about Meghan screaming at the Vanity Fair article. She'll be furious with that because she doesn't like advice from people telling her, you're wrong. You're going to have to own up to this. But the fact that even her former ally, Jack Royston, is saying, Meghan, it's no longer good enough to say you're not a bully is really fascinating to me. What do you make of his advice to Meghan?
Well, I would listen to it for a second, actually. I don't think he's a good person to take advice from because I think it would all be about him. What I think is that Meghan has to completely change her way of living. I think she should downsize her house, not have to use for so much money, spend time with her children, not try and be, the queen of the world. I mean, she's just pushing herself all the time because she's got to be number one everywhere. She's a global reality and she's got to be loved. She goes to all these rubbish parties. It's all ridiculous. She's got to change herself entirely for a year. I bet you if she did that for a year and was kind and became a bit more normal and stopped wanting so much money and so much attention, live quietly, and then she can start growing out of it. But, she won't go to London. She won't apologize to the king. She won't apologize to the queen. She won't have anything to do with William or Catherine. I don't think that any of that will help her. And trying to sort of say, just don't do that, is not going to work. She's got to really have help from her own inside to think out another way that Meghan can be, because it is all phony. No one's going to believe it. What happens if she's still all this talk about writing a book after the divorce or writing a book about how terrible it was for her. Now she's still threatening to do that. People will keep away, and it won't work because nobody would want to wear it because read it because they don't know to trust her. So I don't think his idea is any good whatsoever. But
I
that's
completely
just
agree with
me.
you about the
Do
downsizing
you?
too. Well,
Good.
yeah, and especially about the downsizing because Angela, seriously, she can't afford this. They cannot
No.
afford this. At the moment, they are seriously facing bankruptcy. That's where this is going to end up. It's always been King Charles' biggest worry that Harry will come back with the begging bowl at some point. You are living a life that you cannot afford. You are not a superstar, Meghan. You're not Oprah Winfrey. You're not Ellen DeGeneres. You thought you could run before you could walk. So the only way out of this actually is to change your lifestyle completely. First, though, digestive issues are caused by a potential toxin that's in all of the quote healthy foods that scientists have been telling us to eat with a fraudulent food pyramid for the longest time. And this potential toxin causes digestive issues. According to Dr. Gundry, a world renowned cardiologist, this is affecting millions of people worldwide. Warning signs include weight gain and fatigue and digestive discomfort and stiff joints, even skin problems. Well, Dr. Gundry explains these side effects are often mistaken for normal signs of aging because digestive issues develop usually over a matter of years and sometimes even decades. I can assure you that the damage is probably caused by these health foods and it's far from normal. The good news is you can easily help fix the problem from your own home. It's very simple. You just have to know which foods are actually healthy and which contain this hidden potential toxin. So you can go find this yourself at gutcleanseprotocol.com/outspoken. That's gutcleanseprotocol.com/outspoken. Now, I've put the links, don't worry, in the show notes if you're watching on YouTube and Rumble, so you can just click on them from there or scan the QR code if you're watching on screen. Because after years of research, Dr. Gundry has decided to release an informative video to the public, free and uninterrupted, showcasing exactly which foods you need to eat. Go find that video at gutcleanseprotocol.com/outspoken or by clicking on the link in the description box below. But now, back to the show. Breaking right now, has Prince Harry become the Pussy Prince? Has he just bottled it? Is he so terrified of the fact that I have said I'm going to give evidence against you in court, mate, and maybe reveal a few home truths that he isn't going to go ahead with this ludicrous, self-obsessed, completely unnecessary, costly waste of money battle in court versus news group newspapers, the former publishers of The Sun? Well, today he was all boastful. He was saying that there was no way that he was going to back down and the case was expected to be held. But then, Angela, lawyers from both sides demanded a delay because it looks like Harry may capitulate. All of that big talk was just talk. What do you know, Angela? What's been going on in court today?
Well, it's absolutely fascinating that it's waited until today when he was about to sort of take his case and come down. It's very interesting because the Duke's lawyers were due today to open their 8-week trial on his allegations, but actually the judge can't bear it. I mean, he's Mr. Justice Fancourt. He's so fed up with how Harry has behaved. He's so fed up with him getting people to talk about what's happened and to be on his side, but they don't know what they're talking about and they're not giving evidence. They're talking about like a story. And he's got furious with that. It's been going on since 2019. So it's a very, very long time for a court case. And of course, today we had that Rupert Murdoch has got involved. Here he's come, this poor old man, well, very rich old man, has come to make a huge offering of money and to finish it all. I mean, this is the way very rich people can actually wipe out things. Now, it depends what Harry does on this. I'm very interested in what Meghan advises him because she has said that she wants nothing to do with it. And she's tried to stop him and she's done her very best because it makes him so stressed. but she may very much want him to stay there and keep going until that they bring the house down. And I don't know which way that will go, but because of the time difference between America and here, it's going to take a while, and they're not going to come back until tomorrow, 10 o'clock earliest. But they are negotiating, and also along with the former Labour MP, Lord Tom Watson, he's also a remaining claimant. But we will have to see. I mean, I think it's fascinating that Rupert Murdoch would actually spend a lot of time sort of getting rid of this whole thing.
I know. I don't think he should. I think actually, I mean, this is why, Angela, I said, no, I'm prepared to come and give evidence in court. I've done absolutely nothing wrong ever when it comes to my reporting. Certainly nothing illegal, as Harry claims. And all of my stories came from people who had genuine, really important stories to tell in the public interest, which is why I'm prepared to go to court. But this would be such a humiliation and a climb down for Prince Harry, Angela. I just want to take a look at what he said. Remember, we analysed it at the time, but what he said in this interview at the New York Times Deal Book Summit just late last year. Watch this.
Ask you, I was going to say 1,300 people, from what I've read, have settled with the Murdoch folks. And of the 40 claimants that originally joined with you in this action, it's down to now 2. Yeah. There are some reports that suggest that even if you win in court, the amount that would be awarded to you would be less than what you could have gotten by settling.
I mean, 100 times over.
100 times over.
Even if or when we win, I'm still liable for the legal costs of both sides.
And so you think that everybody's just settled because it just doesn't make any economic sense to continue?
No, I know why people have settled. They've settled because they've had to settle. So therefore, one of the main reasons for seeing this through is accountability, because I'm the last person that can actually achieve that, and also closure for these 1,300 people and families.
In terms of that accountability, just so I understand it.
Do you remember when I said I couldn't talk about it?
Yeah. Ask you, I was going to say 1,300 people, from what I've read.
Angela Levin, sorry about that. We were still listening to Harry. Enough of him. Enough of him. But this will be humiliating, won't it? It will be utterly humiliating, because surely it will also be a sign that they must be facing real financial troubles if he ain't prepared to put his money where his mouth is on this.
Yes, or he could have made a change and decided that this is very upsetting for his father. I mean, he was going to call his brother in, wasn't he? Because he had a private agreement right at the beginning, and he had a very good amount of money. He's been absolutely furious that Harry could use him in that way. But perhaps he's actually really thinking that he doesn't want to do that to William, and he doesn't want to keep upsetting his father and going on and on and on. And he might just stop. I think it will depend a lot on Meghan, because he wants her to be proud of him, and perhaps he thinks this will be it, that he will get a huge amount of money, most of which he could give to her. I mean, he's also got this obsession about accountability. It goes on and on and on. He wants his father to have accountability. He wants all of us to have accountability. Why we behave, why we say something. Why has he got to deal with the closure? I mean, it's not his business. Or anybody who got money could make their own decision. They're not children. And they certainly don't need Harry to tell them what to do and to help with the closure. That's not a skill. That's not necessary. Let him look after himself and not actually do that. And the accountability, sometimes you have to give. You know, the court cases have been going on for so long, and just get on with it and finish. Because I think you're very going to be very unlucky if your judge is very irritated by everything you say and do. I mean, I don't think that's clever to keep going on about that.
No, of course not. Justice Fancourt has had enough of this absolute madness. Well, look, we will bring the results on tomorrow's Outspoken. Stay tuned. Is Harry really a guy of morals? Somehow I doubt it. And Angela Levin, we will speak later in the week. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.